Welcome everybody to the one of the first episodes of the Haunted Raven podcast, After Hours. So I just want to say thank you everybody that's tuning in right now. I have an incredible guest on the show. We have Sophia Temperilli, known as the Ghost Host, and she's got quite the podcast episodes that everybody should be listening to. So right now, I just want to say welcome, Sophia. Thank you for coming on.
Well, hey Drew, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm super excited to be on. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Sophia Temperilli. Some of you may know me as the Ghost Host. I've been a broadcaster for 13 years now. It'll be, I think, 14 years in June, which is like kind of crazy. Yeah, I have a show. It airs every Saturday. We are now on Spotify, so you can check it out. Ghost Host on Spotify, and I basically interview people every week, paranormal investigators, demonologists, basically people from all spectrums of life. Well, I know the Spotify looks kind of bare. We had some technical difficulties recently, so we kind of had to start from scratch from some of the shows. We were able to archive some got lost to the internet. And I'm a paranormal investigator since I was 8 years old. When I was around 9, we realized our house was haunted, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a podcast host and paranormal investigator.
Okay. All right. It sounds super interesting. Sounds like
Yeah,
you're pretty much busy 24/7 then, I'd say.
Yeah, especially since we had to kind of start over with the show and regroup after Blog Talk Radio shut down. But it's been great, just through the years getting to talk to so many people. That's how you and I met, and
Mhm.
getting to hear stories. And so it's just a lot of fun getting to meet different investigators and seeing their techniques and hearing about what got them started. As someone that lived in a haunted house, it's nice to know that you're not alone. I mean, that was kind of like the whole genesis of the show was I was going through these experiences at such a young age, and even though I was already in the paranormal when we realized my house was haunted, it was hard going through it and not really knowing how to make it stop or feeling alone. So I started the show because I wanted to know if there was other people my age that also were having these experiences. And I didn't find any, but I was able to meet some people that, you know, also kind of went through some of that trauma at a young age from living in a haunted house or, have dealt with cases like that through their work.
Okay. So, how did you how did you get started within like starting your first podcast off, like your show and everything? How did that start out for you or unravel with your journey with all of this?
Yeah, so like I said, I started when I was 8 years old. I come from kind of an eccentric family. They're not my parents aren't like normal, typical Stepford wives or anything. And so my parents, for their 10-year wedding anniversary, decided they wanted to do something different, and they went on a tour on the Queen Mary because there was a psychic there named Peter James, who they were huge fans of in the 90s when they would watch sightings. So they went on the tour, and for some reason, I just got really jealous, and I'm like, why am I not going? And my parents are like, okay. So they messaged Peter because he gave everyone his email at the end of the tours, and they were like, hey, our 8-year-old daughter really wants to go on this. Is it safe for her to go? And he said, there's over 500 ghosts on this ship. All of them are my friends. Bring her, and we'll have her call out to Jackie. And Jackie's the ghost girl in the first class swimming pool area. And so I went on the tour and I fell in love with the paranormal. And shortly after that, at the end of the tour that night, Peter asked my dad to co author his autobiography, Heaven Can You Hear Me? And that really propelled us into the paranormal because my dad went and helped edit the book and make sure it got published. And Peter died a couple months after he asked my dad to co author his book. So we were the ones going out to events, promoting it, and meeting other paranormal investigators, going on tours. Um, and because of that, for a few years, my dad had been asked by Rob Sarek, the site founder of liveparanormal.com, if he wanted to have a radio show there. And my dad's like, no, no, I don't want to go through all that work. And then after living in a haunted house, I was like, no, I should have a radio show. I don't even know where that stemmed from. Honestly, I get lots of random ideas, and that was apparently one of them. And my parents were like, "You're never gonna stick with that because I never stuck with any sport I've ever done in my life. But I'm also clumsy, so like not safe. At least I'm sitting for this." And so he messaged after much pestering, he messaged Rob and said, "Hey, I don't want to show, but my 12-year-old daughter does." And he said, "Okay, let's try it out." And I started on my paranormal. My first show was Alexander Holzer, the daughter of Dr. Hans Holzer, and almost 14 years later, here I am.
What an incredible person to start off with, though. Like,
Yeah,
that must have been cool to speak with her, right?
it was honestly because I started so young, it's like a little hard to remember certain things. And when I was going through the archiving of the shows, first off, I was a menace when I was a child, like even on air, and I'm like, why would anyone want to talk to me? Um and but she was so kind and she really spoke in such a way. And I remember that first show, my dad's like, "Okay, I'm gonna sit with you and I'm gonna help you do the show." And I was like, "No, no, I don't need it. I'm good." And then I got on air and I'd be like, "Oh, what do you do in the paranormal?" And then they'd answer and I go, "Okay." And then I just move on. So
Mhm,
I definitely grew as a host, but it's nice when you look back to see how kind so many people in the paranormal were to me as a child doing interviews, not being that
mhm.
great at it. So that's kind of the thing that stuck out to me through the years is just how many people that are big in the field really showed me such kindness and patience. I would say patience was really big back then. And so it's been a journey and she's was an awesome first guest and my dad was right. I did need his help.
Uh, dads always love it when they're right, though, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll listen to this and be super. He'll be like, "She said something nice about me." I'll be like, "You just wait, Dad. I'll call you Bigfoot later, or I'll do it now." I just did.
Uh, so, what is your biggest accomplishment from all of this that you would say?
Well, I would say my biggest accomplishment, not only is like I said, sticking with something for almost 14 years after quitting. I think jujitsu. I lasted one night. Um, is really just I don't know, people maybe have seen the article recently. I'm working on my own show, an idea I created that you were a part of, Drew. And it's
And that
something
was an
that
honor too. That was an honor for that. So thank
well,
you for that one.
thank you for being a part of it. For me, that's like my biggest accomplishment because I have been in the field for so many years and I've interviewed so many great people, but to actually try and create something that I hope people will love, besides my radio show and kind of taking it to a next level where it's not just audio and actually going out there and investigating for me was a pretty big accomplishment because I worked for quite a few years on it and it's a show that's really near and dear to my heart for many reasons. And so for me, that's like the biggest thing. And normally I wouldn't be able to say that, but an article was written on it. So it's kind of out there.
Yeah. So with you going out and investigating, right?
Mhm.
Um, what would you have to say that your favorite piece of equipment is?
I mean, it used to be the X Connect because I'm a gamer. So like I was
Mhm,
like Xbox camera. I would really say it's like any piece of equipment where I can get instant responses. Um, I mean, recently I used like spirit candles and stuff like that, and those were great because you could get those instant responses. I
mhm,
like I would use the Ghost Radar app a lot on my phone. Now I have an Obelisk, so I would use that instead. But I really love equipment where you can get like responses pretty instantly. So you're not going home trying to sift through evidence and then you realize you got a response and couldn't even interact in that moment. So
mhm.
it's really any piece of equipment where I can kind of talk and have a conversation with the spirit in real time rather than realize, like, okay, for instance, at my haunted house, my mom was doing an EVP session because she
Mhm,
heard our dog barking and the dog could see the ghost. And the recording we got was very clear, and it said, "Who are you?" And my mom always says, "I wish I had known in that moment because I would have responded and said who I am." And
mhm.
for me, that's kind of the same thing. You know, you do an investigation, but then don't know what they're asking you. So I like equipment where I can have that dialogue instead of regretting it later and realizing you could have responded.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Um, have you ever had an instance where you were able to, like, easily debunk it or anything like that?
Um, I
Or were these,
mean,
like, experiences that were,
yeah,
like, dead on
I was doing
100%, like, scare
no,
the shit out of you at this point?
no, yeah, I was told to stop laughing on an investigation recently because I was kind of stunned that the equipment responded so quickly. So I'm not really like a like if I panic, it's
Mhm.
internal. No one can see it. So I'm a very like chill person on the outside.
Not me,
I'm
I'm ready
very
to
like
run out real
good.
quick, it's
If
there's
I'm
too many times my feet are ready to move quick.
if I'm scared, I'll fast walk. I don't even run. It's a very fast walk. So it's like I don't know, I can't explain that. I would say on one investigation I did, um, I was taking Polaroid pictures and the other
Mhm.
investigator was like, "Oh my god, what did we capture in this photo?" And I'm like, "That's someone's jacket." And he was like, "No, it's not." And I'm like, "It's someone's jacket. I'm the one who took the photo." And I pulled out other photos to prove to them it was someone's jacket, and I did. So I would say one of the easiest debunkable things was when someone thought we caught like this really cool anomaly and it was
Mhm.
someone's jacket.
Oh, so, like, somebody's jacket that was already there with you guys.
Yeah, it was a fur coat. Um
Well, that's very
yeah,
distinguishable, so, you
I
know.
think yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
I do, because the name fucking went straight through my head, and I already saw his face, so,
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
it
I
was
can
that
see that.
person's arm in a photo. So I'm like, no, that's not an anomaly. That's that person's fur coat.
Absolutely. Um, so have you ever encountered a situation that made you question your beliefs?
Um,
And this could be whether you're actually investigating somewhere, it could have been something that, like, happened in your house, anything.
I would say the thing that probably most made me question things is the spirit in the Queen Mary pool area. He's very intense. He doesn't like me. I don't like him. Extremely mutual. It's about all we have in common. When I investigated, yeah, it's great. We have lots of commonalities. We don't like each other. Um, when I investigated with Ghost Adventures, it was the first time for anyone who hasn't been to the Queen Mary. Typically, it's very low lighting in there, so there's
Mm,
always light on. It's just very dim. And when I investigated with Ghost Adventures on the Queen Mary, all the lights were out. It was the first time I'd ever been in there like that. And the ghost in there felt so much more intense. And it was like he was in multiple places at once, which I can't really explain. It sounds weird to me. I don't know why. But he was in multiple places at once.
mhm,
And I felt him on the upper right-hand balcony, and Zach actually got rushed by a ghost and my mom heard the footsteps. So it was kind of
mm,
confirmed, and I wanted to tell the guys, "Hey, that's the shadow man," which is what I call him. And every time I wanted to say it, I felt like I was going to cry. And so it was the first time where something really felt like it had like a grip on me, kind of
mhm,
emotionally. And the first time I went back to the pool area after that investigation, that kind of grip was still there. I was there with Amy Goodwin, Aaron's sister, and I we weren't in there long and I'm like, we need to leave. I feel like something really bad's gonna happen if we stay. So we didn't stay in there long. I felt very panicked and I felt very sure that if we stayed, something bad was gonna happen. Now, do I know if it was? I'm not sure. I don't know if that was something he wanted me to think or if it was true. But I would say in that moment, like I'm not sure how a spirit could kind of have that much of an impact on me.
Mhm.
Especially as someone that lived in a haunted house for many years. I was terrified all the time, but I never kind of felt like that much of an impact on me. So that kind of just made me question like what about that, you know? I don't know
Yeah.
if it's because I could see him and he knew that, so he was targeting me, or if he thought it was easy. I was 15 at the time, so still a kid. I'm not really sure what made him so different than every other spirit.
Hmm. So the Queen Mary, huh? That should be added to
Yeah.
my list.
Yeah, of course it
That's
should
what
be
I'm
added to the
getting?
list. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's near
I have,
me. We
like,
can go
a
together.
3,000-mile long list going for me,
Yeah,
so
it's by me. It's very close. We can go together. I'll leave you in the pool area because I still don't want to go in there.
that's fine. I need to suck it up and start doing more solos anyway, so,
I'll
um
just let you have fun in there. It's a great place. I just I've been there
mhm.
so many times. I'm like, if he's gonna mess with me, I just don't need to go in there.
You never know, like, because, I mean, spirits can move around, so even though you don't go in that area, he's probably like, "Mm,
I
I
think
know
he's in
you're
the
here, I'm
boiler
gonna come
room.
get you."
I
Huh?
think he kind of well, he stays to the dressing rooms, so he's very big on the dressing rooms in the pool area. I do think he goes to the boiler room. I feel like I can kind of sense him in the boiler room.
Mhm.
Um, but it's mainly yeah, it's the first class pool dressing rooms. He lurks in there like crazy.
That sounds creepy.
Yeah, he is creepy. He's great.
Ah,
I love him. He's one of my best friends.
we love creepy, that's why we do this,
We
right? That's why
love
we keep
creepy.
coming back.
That's why I own a Chihuahua. It makes me feel like I'm near him all the time.
No, that's a demon dog. That's not even creepy, that's not anything normal or natural. That
Mhm.
dog
That's exactly
Chihuahuas
actually
of
how
all
I would
kind are
describe
just
him.
huh?
Mhm. I would describe him as unnatural and creepy. That's
Yeah.
exactly.
You can just describe him as his own little cryptid. He's like
Yeah.
his own creature itself.
He got
'Cause
attacked by a
everybody's
hawk.
scared of German Shepherds and stuff, and I'm
Wasn't
like, mine is just a
yeah.
pain in the ass. But Chihuahuas, those are ankle biters. Like, if I'm scared of
Well,
any kind of dog, it'd be a
actually
Chihuahua.
he's pretty nice. I will say he's pretty nice. He's just gross. Um,
He's just
he's
gross.
just gross. He's just disturbing in his own way, but he's not mean. He got attacked by a hawk, lived to tell the tale, got staples
Jesus.
in his head, no numbing, and apparently the vet staff described him as an angel, and I'm like, "My
Are we
dog?
talking about your dog? I was gonna say, I'd be like,
He
are we
cries when
talking
my
about the
mom
same
leaves
dog
the
or what's
house, and
going
he
on?
got staples without viewing my mother." It's very strange, but, I would say he's definitely changed my beliefs on why you exist.
Okay. Um, so if you, could give any kind of advice to somebody starting out, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would definitely say, don't push yourself. Like it's okay to want to like face your fears and stuff, but if you really feel uncomfortable in a situation, don't do it. Don't do things to like to go beyond your limits because in the paranormal there's definitely a fine line between, facing your fears and pushing past it and growing as an investigator and doing something that can put you in harm's way. And that goes not just for the paranormal. When you're going into an abandoned building, you don't know what's in there. I've heard tons of stories of really like some of the most disturbing stories I've heard are from actual physical living things and not so much the spirits. My top three are I had Colin Brown on my show. He said he investigated an insane asylum and he left it and he saw someone standing in the window and it wasn't a ghost, it was a real person. And
What do
another
you mean a real
story,
person?
like someone was living in there and he wasn't warned about that until after he
Oh,
left.
almost like a squatter then.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
shit.
yeah. And another one is Keith Age. He was on my show. He was
Mhm.
investigating Waverly Hills and they were recording, he stepped on a cord and he heard this buzzing noise and he's like, okay, whatever. He looks back at the camera. He wasn't stepping on a cord. He was stepping on like a cougar's tail or like a bobcat. And so he very
Holy
easily could
sh
have gotten bitten. And the third one is I had a couple on my show who the woman sat down and got a rusted like needle or nail that went like on her butt cheek or something. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of dangers that, besides the spiritual side that I think people should watch out for and take into account because there's a lot more that goes into investigating than just, the ghosts. Um, it's kind of doing your research and making sure you're safe in all aspects. Don't push
Definitely.
yourself past your limits, and also make sure you're not getting injured. And that kind of goes with it's fun to do investigations alone. That's totally cool, totally fine. But also make sure someone knows where you're at and make sure you're safe in those situations.
I was gonna say, if you're trying to investigate alone, I highly would recommend that you do it at a more secured location that you know that you're, like, the
Mhm.
only one inside that can enter. Like, I definitely wouldn't recommend that going into an abandoned building or something,
And
because I've had my own experiences with that, and when you do that, it almost also makes it hard to investigate too. Right?
well,
Because it's
yeah,
almost like you're like your focus is like you really wanna be focused on the paranormal, but you're also like your other instincts are like watching out for anything else that could, whether it's a person or like you said, an animal that could come into the place, and then I don't know, you gotta be like prepared for anything at that point, not just looking for the paranormal.
and checking the physical surroundings too. I had a guy on Jim Paris, and he's does urban exploration, and he said he went into one house, and he said one of the rules is to walk around the edges of homes because he
Mhm.
went into one house and basement was flooded and the
Oh,
floor was
good.
squishy, so you stepped wrong, you were going to fall into this flooded basement because the
Mhm.
floor was rotted. So it's a lot of physical dangers that I think people kind of forget about, and asbestos.
Mhm. Oh my god, yeah, that's a big one, especially with the abandoned buildings mainly. I haven't luckily, like, I haven't came across any kinda, like, locations that have had any that's pretty much cleared out before they let anybody into them, so, yeah, you definitely wanna watch out for that with the abandoned places, and I'm guilty for it because I that's a lot of the places that I go, that's where I take a lot of my
Yeah.
photos is into those abandoned places, but I feel like you just find more beauty in them at the same time, so I
No,
really
they're
can't help
they're
it, but I
stunning.
mean
I'd love to go to an abandoned place. I truthfully have never been to one. There's one kind of close to where I live, but apparently
mhm.
there's like a lot of like squatters in there,
Yeah, that's the biggest thing
and
you always gotta watch
it's
out
right
for.
next to a sheriff's department, so I don't want to get shivved or arrested.
Yeah. I'll never forget, I went to one here, and it was probably, I would say, my most dangerous explore, right? And I mean, I wasn't
Mhm.
alone, I was with a good friend of mine, Vince, for the urban investigator, right? It
Yeah.
was me and him, and then my mom was tagging along. My mom is like your mom, that she tags along with every
Yeah.
adventure that I have, whether it's exploring or investigating somewhere, you know? Uh, Shout out to Sonia Babineau on that one. But I'll never forget because she was terrified. We got to a
Mhm.
point and this place was just falling apart, and we got to a point for where I told her, "You literally have to put all your weight leaning against the wall and just move your feet side to side. It's
Oh
a
my god.
plank." And then like you see like this giant drop down, and it's just everything's just collapsed in. So like if you fall, you
Oh.
got to watch out for not getting like staked or something, you
Yeah,
know, because it's bad. But
I don't know if you
we
can
made it
convince me to
across,
do
we made it
that.
out safely. So
I have
but it's always fun to talk
acrophobia,
about.
so I don't like heights, so I
Oh, yeah,
don't think
you wouldn't have survived that one. That one was
no.
I'm surprised my mom even made it across or even
Yeah.
considered it. I was waiting for her to be like, "I'll wait here. You guys come back when
I
you're
would
done."
my mom would maybe have considered it like 10 years ago. I would never let her do that. Like, mom, stop. We went
Yeah.
to a mission once and she raced my cousin, and I'm like,
Mhm.
no, no, please don't.
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah,
yeah,
it was fun, but super dangerous, so like you said, just fucking be careful, cautious of your surroundings,
yeah, that's like, I
um,
think number one is
everything.
like take in the physical dangers because those are as real as the ghosts.
Yeah, if not worse than the ghosts,
Yeah,
so
I don't want to fall 50 feet. It doesn't sound
you don't
fun.
think so? You don't think that would be fun?
No, if I wanted to do that, I would go bungee jumping, but I haven't put that on my list of
No.
interests.
No, you lost me there. No.
My god, it's
So,
raining so hard outside. I don't know if you can hear that.
we've been getting snow nonstop. It's like between snow and ice right now. The roads have been awful today. So,
That was oh my god, the snow is so cool in Massachusetts.
not when you live here and it's all the time
I
because it's
know.
just it
Yeah.
becomes a pain in the ass. But when you visit it, it's different because then you're like, "Oh, it's so nice and pretty. I don't have to deal with this every single year," you know?
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
it's
my
actually
mom's not a
earlier today, it
fan
was
of the
nice.
snow. My mom's
She
not a fan
wasn't?
of the snow. She's like, well, no, she thought it was pretty when it was falling, but in general, she hates the cold and thinks it's annoying you have to wipe off cars. So she she doesn't even she doesn't even do that. She just doesn't want to do it.
Yep. Oh, no, that's the worst, and I would say where we were in the Berkshires, that's, like if you
Mhm.
wanna experience the winter, like, that would be the best place because it is nice there, it's pretty, you know, having to be snowed in and, like, having to dig your car out, like, literally almost shovel your car out. Because I remember I was, like, taking my, what is it? The brush that I have and, like, kinda, like, trying to dig out from behind the tires
Mhm.
just so I'm like, I don't get stuck or nothing like that. So that's where it becomes a pain in the ass, and I'm just
I was
like,
just
I'm
I
over
was
it.
just
I'm ready to move
along for
somewhere
the
warm.
ride.
Yeah, there you
Just
go.
along for the ride. I'm like just hopping in people's cars. You
Yep,
all
there
know
you
the
go.
snow. You know what's going on.
Yep. No, yeah. Um, all right. So, do you have anything exciting coming up that you want to talk about? Anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my show is now on Spotify, The Ghost Host. We are uploading new episodes every week unless there's a holiday. It's out of courtesy for the guest. So we have some great shows coming up. Soon we will have psychic Erica Busarhini on. She's amazing. She's been on the show before. And we're booking a ton of great guests. So I'm very excited. Drew, you've been on, so people can go and
Mhm.
listen to your episode there. And
Don't always do it though. I was very nervous speaking on that, so I may not make sense at some of those things. Don't judge me too
I
hard on that.
mean, I thought you did great. It was a show where I was like, I want to work with him. I think he's great. So I think you did
I
perfect.
appreciate that. Thank you.
And and so yeah, we are booking guests currently. And you guys can check out the article we were talking about in the Berkshire Eagle about the little show we are working on called The Telltale Haunting. More info to come on that at some point. We're still in the production process, so I don't have too much information on that. But you can listen to my radio show, like I said, The Ghost Host. Check it out on Spotify. Um, we hopefully will be adding more platforms soon. And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Sophia Temperilli with one L, at Ghost Host Show, Instagram at Sophia Temperilli, Facebook Sophia Temperilli. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Is what I have upcoming. It's just my radio show at the moment.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I will say though that sorry. I will make sure that all of Sophia's links are in the description below. So that way, anybody who is itching to check her out and is ready to check her out, which I highly recommend, um, all the links will be below for all of her social channels. So that way, you guys can go give her follow, listen to the podcast, everything like that. We will make sure that you guys are 100% hooked up with all of those links.
And you
So
can listen to Drew's episode.
maybe.
No, definitely. 100% certain. It's on there. You can't do anything about it. If they want to listen, they can listen.
No, that's
And
fine.
I
You know
recommend
what?
it.
I will say, Sophia is actually the very first person. Jesus, I can't even speak now. The very first person to ever give me a shot at anything. Like with, she was the very first podcast that reached out to me that wanted me on her show, and she's also the very first person to give me such an incredible opportunity that hopefully everybody will see very soon. But yeah, no, so that's why I was super hyped that she was willing to come on for my first podcast, and being one of my first hosts. So thank you for that. I will say that we are kind of coming up on our time just a little bit here. So, Sophia, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on,
Yeah.
and taking the time out of your busy day. Because basically, what we heard out of everything here that you are 100% busy all the time, 24/7. It seems like. So, thank you. I greatly appreciate you taking just a little bit of time out of your day to get interviewed. So, how does it
Well,
feel to be on the other side now?
I mean, I'm kind of used to it. I was talking to my parents about like the very first show I was on, and
Mhm.
that one's up for debate because I used to crash my dad's interviews when he was being interviewed about his book. So kind of just been shoving myself onto other people's interviews for a while now. And
Hey, no,
then people started,
the more you get yourself out there too, the better it'll be for you and your shows.
yeah.
So
Right now I'm busy with a puppy, so I'm just happy she didn't terrorize. We have a blockade up, my door is closed, but she's squeaking a toy, but she hasn't done anything horrible. Haven't heard her get yelled at. So I'd say that's
yeah.
progress.
No, mine's downstairs, creating chaos for everybody else
Toby.
down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, "You wanna take him up?" No, absolutely not. That dog will take over the show. He would have already been on my lap over here. I would have had to yell at him already. So, it's a
Quite
good thing
frankly,
we
I
didn't.
would have wanted to see that, if I'm being honest. I would have
No,
enjoyed that
he's such a
greatly.
pain. I love him to death, but he's such a challenge for me. If I ever wanted a child, like Toby's attitude, everything, that would be it. So, like, I'm all set. I'm like, I have my
Yeah.
hands full with this guy. That's it. So,
Yeah, Indiana is just I had to stop her from chewing on a water bottle today at like 8 in the morning. Like, what are you
mhm.
doing with your life? Why are you even out here?
Yeah, no, try waiting until there's, like, a little bit of water in there, and then they get everything soaked and
It was
wet because they're just
half
whipping it around.
full. She didn't spill it. She took the cap off. And I'm like, what? I'm not even gonna try and figure her out. I don't think I want to jump in that brain. It's too disturbing. Not as
Yeah, no, good
disturbing
luck
as
with
the
that one, though.
Chihuahua.
Mm,
Yeah, no, she's great.
no.
She's small. You
Well,
just have to
so then
pick
good
her up.
luck with the chihuahua then,
Well,
right?
he's 15, so my
Oh, so
mom was
he's
like,
like an
"Well,
old man.
he's like a disgusting old man." So, he's
This poor
he's
dog.
there. Well, I feel like poor me more. My mom's like, "Well, he might not live forever." I'm like, "He's like a Chernobyl cockroach. I'm gonna be 100 and he's still gonna be there." And people are gonna be like, "How do you have the world's oldest dog?" Because he wants me miserable for many years.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, alright, Sophia, thank you again. Everybody make sure to check her out. Her links will be down below, and give her show a listen. I can guarantee you that you guys will enjoy it. She's interviewed a lot of people, everywhere from, like, the big dogs to the little pups. So, yeah, I highly recommend taking a listen there. Well, Sophia, good luck with everything in your future. Between the show, your podcast show, and then obviously the project that you got working on. Good luck with it all, and I wish you nothing but the best with that. All right.
Thank you. Well, if the show works out well, I mean, you'll definitely be there. So,
Oh, yeah, but either way. So,
yeah, you got to be there
everybody
so I
else,
can keep shoving you in places that you go. Why do I have to go here? And I'm like, you seem much braver than me, and you go, no.
I'm glad you think so. You should really see me off camera because I will put everybody else there versus me.
Yeah,
But you know what? That's fine. It's what they all want,
I
right? They
saw
want to
you
see
and I was
somebody go
like,
for
"You
solo.
know what?" I was like, "Drew really wants to go in this place with the shadow figures." I was like, "Drew looks like someone that absolutely wants to go in this place with the shadow figures."
'Cause no, the second I see one, like, dart for me, I'm gonna fucking run the other way.
I'm like, "I've already read this information. It's too much for me to know." I was like, "Drew can go. He doesn't know anything about
Ah,
this."
no, fuck, no. But, alright, so thank you, and thank you to everybody who was watching. Make sure you guys stay tuned for more episodes coming out. They're gonna be popping out a lot more, frequently, and, yeah, just make sure that you guys like this video, share it out with your friends, so that way the more the merrier.